Hello, welcome back to Math Time with Professor Prime, and I am your host, Professor Prime. So, in previous videos, I started to build up a case regarding logic and literacy, talking about math and writing, how they connect. And I wanted to get across that, hey, if I'm writing a paper for, let's say, an English class, and I'm solving a math problem, they really are the same thing. They just look different. And so, what I want to do in this video is I want to build up that idea a little bit more, come at it from a different angle, and then also talk about like math as a foreign language because that's what I want people to take away from that. So, if I'm writing a paper, to do a quick recap, I have an introduction where I am talking about my thesis, my main idea, the paper. I have my main body where I'm supporting that idea and I'm using my own style to do that with what is allowed with that sort of thing. I want to be able to disprove or prove something using my evidence, but also saying it in a meaningful way, uh, arguably efficient way, but that's a bit subjective. And then I want to be able to conclude what I said. I want to have something that's solid that uses everything that I said to give some sort of takeaway, right? And you have the same thing with math. And I feel like that is easier to see the higher you go up in math, but like for a lot of people, they're probably not going to do like, analysis class, right? For a math class. And I mean, I compare that to English as well. So like if I'm taking an English class at a certain point, I'm done with my basic requirements. Maybe I want to take that further. Maybe I want to like have a literary analysis class. Maybe I want to have a creative writing class, and I have so many options there. And it's the same with math. But I digress. What I want to get across is that not only am I talking about logic when I'm writing that paper and when I'm talking about math, but I'm also dealing with language. So when I'm writing that paper, and let's say it's again for an English class, and in this case, English is my native language, and so what I want to say about that is I am writing my paper. I have my logic. I have my flow to it. I'm able to support my arguments. I'm able to, have my introduction, my main body, and my conclusion, and all that jazz, right? But I also have to know about my language, right? The language that I'm writing in this case. I have to know about English. I have to know the mechanics of it. I have to know the structure, the vocabulary, the syntax. I have to know how it flows. I have to know the rules. I have to know what I can get away with sometimes, right? Um, and that's what I have to know in order to write an effective paper because I could have the logic, I could have how I want that paper to go, but if I don't know the mechanics of the language that I'm working with, then I'm not going to have something coherent or cogent, even if the structure supports that. Because how can I make something that's cogent? How can I make something that's coherent if I don't know how to properly write? I can't write a lengthy essay or just a short essay for that matter if I don't know how to compose sentences, if I don't know the words, if I don't know how those sentences are structured. And so I think that's key when I'm talking about math as well, because just like that, it's the same with math. I am making an argument style essay. I am following the same logical structure in a sense that I was when I was writing the English paper. And in here, I have to know the mechanics of the language that I'm working in. And in this case, that's math. And it's not enough for me to just know math, right? Like math isn't my native language, despite what people would think. Right? I learned English first. And the thing is, right, like I'm translating in that case. And I have to know how to go back and forth. I have to know the mechanics of both language and I have to know how logic flows. And to give you another example of how this ties together, like let's say I am dealing with a more traditional foreign language than like math, because right, we don't typically think of math as a language, but it is. So let's say I am, like I said, a native English speaker, right? And then let's say I'm in a Spanish class, and and I've had this right. Like when I was in college, that's what my foreign language was. That's what it was in high school. Um, let's say, okay, I'm learning how Spanish functions. I'm learning its alphabet. I'm learning its words, and I know how to construct sentences, right? And at some point, and this will typically happen as you move on, you'll be called to write an essay, and I've been there, right? And so, in order to write that essay, I really did have to have a firm understanding about how Spanish worked, the mechanics of that language, its syntax, its structure, its vocabulary. What could I really do with it? And then the whole thing is like, right, I still had to know how my language flowed, right? Because I have what I want to say in English, and it's like, oh, well, what can I do to translate that into Spanish? And so I think when you're dealing with math, that's how you should treat it. I do have what I want to say in English, but I want to be able to say that mathematically. I want to be able to understand that. And just like in English, like when I'm taking a sort of class, right? Like I am writing papers, sure, but I'm analyzing works. I'm saying a bunch of different things. I'm able to take evidence and support claims, and all of that is part of math. But it's just learning the language of math. And that can be admittedly tricky, but it's there, right? And for the record, when I'm talking about that, it's like yes, I mean like the math that you're actually writing on the page, but part of quantitative literacy is it's more than that too, right? Like I'm looking at everything that's related to that math, right? I'm able to like talk about things visually. I'm able to talk about them numerically. I'm able to talk about them algebraically, verbally, all that. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you all about in this particular video. Like, how does that all connect? And in my next video, I want to talk about that a little further. And then I'll have a follow up video after that where I want to talk about other things that impact this. Um, so, yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Professor Prime out.